Welcome, everybody, to the Supernatural Substation. I'm your host, Alyne Pustanio, and with me is my co-host, Bernadine Richardson. Hey, Dean.
Hey, everybody. Hope everybody having a great Valentine's Day.
Yep,
It is
Valentine's Day. I know.
Yes.
I know. Well, not everybody has a great Valentine's Day. And that, as you can tell, that's going to be our topic tonight. It's just you, me, and Bernadine talking about Valentine's Day. You know what I've been seeing? I've been seeing
What?
this thing like at spas and little cafes and coffee shops and stuff. Like they want to bring customers in. Galentine's Day with a G. G-A-L. Yes, G-A. Look, if you pay attention, yeah, it probably is happening by you too. Galentines Day. So you can go with your gals. Like if you're.
Oh, I'm thinking gallon, like a.
Oh, no, not gallon. Gals. Like gals.
Gal.
But,
okay,
yeah.
I got you.
Not a lot of people use the word gal anymore. Like talking about women. There's some people like on YouTube, and you'll be watching them and say, well, like guys and gals. And it's like, it's kind of jarring because it's a really old, 1940s and 50s gals. I don't even know where it came from. But some genius decided to make Galentine's Day instead. And it has all of the overtones of, are you alone on Valentine's Day? Are you a lonely lady on Valentine's Day? Then come on in here and have Galentine's Day. And it's like catching on, I see it on Facebook, TikTok things come up and it's Galentine's Day, So I guess, I don't know, I guess it's something for lonely cat ladies who care about Valentine's Day. Because be honest, to be honest, I never really cared about Valentine's Day. It's like a day. It is a day, not a season. It's just a day. And when I was little, we used to get, those packs of Valentines that you get at the store, and they come like, I don't know, however, 30 in a pack or something. My mom would get them when I was really littler, and in elementary school. And I'd have to sit there and write to each student. She'd make sure that there was one for everybody in the class. Wait, what?
Oh my gosh. I remember doing that.
Yeah. And it was like, I don't want to write it to this person because I hate her. Yeah. You're going to do Valentine's to everybody. It's not fair. You just give one to everyone. I was like, what if I don't get any? It doesn't matter. You're going to give them. The teachers would make sure there was the exchange. You remember that? And you'd hand them all out. And it would be like, I hate this girl while I'm writing out to so-and-so. And I'm picturing girls from my elementary school days. I don't want to write to this person. But it was like you'd go to school and it'd be like, here, and then she'd have one here. And some guy that, had put gum in your hair here, here. And it was just so ridiculous. And, it doesn't, I don't care about it now. It seems people get so worked up about it that I just don't understand it.
Well, I do if I have a boyfriend or a husband at the time. Yeah, like I do because I normally get them something and I wait on mine. Like,
yeah.
They know it's Valentine's Day. Like, how dare you don't give me a flower or a candy? Even though I don't eat the candy, I still want some.
Yeah.
They
should acknowledge it. Yeah. I guess if you're in a relationship. But a lot of people say that it's one of those commercial days where it's just designed to spend money, but to make people spend money on each other and stuff like that. And I never, even when I was married or dating, it was never a big. I did not get bent out of shape because somebody forgot it. I guess they never really forgot because whoever they were, my ex-husband or boyfriends, they remembered, so they figured I should give you some. And then you feel like I used to feel like I don't want this, I don't know. It's like, yeah, okay, Valentine's Day. It's just a day. in the shortest month of the year. And it was like, make us spend more money. I remember, I think when my daughter was in school and I was listening to a morning show. I think that's where it was. And I was dropping her off in the school line. You go up to, you drive away, and she gets out, and you drive away. And it was this, they were giving, it was nightmare Valentine stories that they were talking about. Not supernatural, but just bad days. And there was one where a radio station was giving out like 3 dozen roses to send to, the person of your choice if you were the whatever X number caller. And what happened is some guy won. Excuse me. Some guy won on the air. They said, who's your sweetheart? Who are we sending this to? Who's your wife? Or whatever. Who's your sweetheart? And he said her name. He told him who it was. And his wife was listening somewhere else. Oh. She listened to the morning show too, and it wasn't her. Yeah. And it was because it was so public, the radio station found out about it, what happened. I think even that the wife had called up and said, you want to know what happened? This is what happened. And guy got, that ended in divorce probably. Oh, wow. So he sent 3 dozen roses to his mistress while his wife was listening. I mean, can you imagine that? If it was me, I'd be like, his crap would be on the lawn, doors, locks changed at the house, the whole thing. It would be like, yeah, okay. You want to send 3 dozen roses to somebody else? That's fine. Go pay for everything for her.
Wow.
That always stuck in my mind. It was like, ooh, But, it's a tradition, and it's an old tradition, because I have pulled out some trusty books to read to our audience about Valentine's Day. So take some notes, y'all. Actually, I am reading from the Hoodoo Almanac 2012, to which I have contributed. I contributed along with Denise Alvarado and Carolina Dean. And we go month by month. It's jam-packed. You ought to look it up. It's on Amazon. There are a few of them. 2014 and 15 are together. There's a gazetteer. So the history of Valentine's Day is a good place to start. And I wrote into this book, and I'll read it because it's short. It's like 3 paragraphs. So, Valentine's Day, a fortnight after Candlemas, the world now celebrates Valentine's Day, a day dedicated to the blossoming of young love. And it is here that the wheel of the year makes its first turn toward the fertility rites and fecundity of spring. Now, that sounds like me writing stuff. What is wrong with me? No, I have big words. I can use some big words. Valentine's Day is named for a Christian saint, though who exactly this saint was is not perfectly clear. One Valentine was a pagan Roman priest allegedly imprisoned for helping persecuted Christians. After his conversion to Christianity, he miraculously restored the sight of his jailer's daughter, but even that could not save him. He was brutally martyred, bludgeoned to death with clubs on February 14th, 269 AD. Excuse me. The other Valentine was also a Christian martyr who, according to legend, scrawled a message to his beloved on the wall of his cell and poignantly signed it, "Your Valentine." Valentine's Day is also connected to 2 Roman love festivals, that of Juno Februata, the inspiration of the fever of love, and the Lupercalia, a festival of purification and fertility, honoring the god Faunus, with which Romans celebrated around February 15th. So there's precedent for it. And we've been celebrating it ever since, apparently, around this time of year. So spring used to start on February 1st in the old style calendars. And I still go by that, because if you look outside at, in your garden and everything's starting to bud. So, and that's usually around the 1st of February. And already like in England and northern climates, further north, they're getting snowdrops. They're the first things that actually come up through the snow. So it is spring, and it's February 1st. And then it's February, March, and April. Summer starts May 1st. And this is, the old style wheel of the year. So, people were in love. People wanted to celebrate. May Day is the one that has all of the carousing and the carrying on, Beltane, around May Day. And then that's why June is full of weddings, because a month later, people turned up pregnant after going out in the woods and maying in the woods. So June became associated with weddings, shotgun weddings included. So, but there are some people who want to do spells. They want to, they naturally think, well, I want to do magic. I want this person, so I'm going to do something. I want this person. And so around this time, February is a time for love and a time for lovers. So there are some spells that apparently I put into here because honestly, I haven't looked at these books in a while, but they're pretty darn good. And I did some good work on here. So February, let's talk about some spells for lovers. Did you ever do anything like that? You ever do a spell or anything? Agree.
I did.
Yeah. I did too.
I did, not for me, for somebody else. I did at one time. So
yeah, and you would.
what I
yeah.
did,
Go ahead.
what I had did is somebody in my family really liked this guy, and he liked this other girl, but she really liked him, and they dated off and on, whatever. So I said, okay. She's like, I don't know what to do to make him come my way. I know you know things or whatever. So I said, okay, but if I do this and you get him, you might not like him how you get him because it wasn't natural.
Right.
So you kind of warn, but they don't listen. So I did. I don't
Nope.
remember what I did. I took a picture of him and did something, whatever it was. I don't remember. And she did get him. And it wasn't like she wanted. They ended up not together anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That
Got
is
what she wanted. She didn't
yeah,
get
you
it.
got what you wanted, not what you were supposed to get. That is the of all in all forms of like magic that's practiced, excuse me, Wiccan, voodoo, hoodoo, witchcraft, even black magic, or it's satanic magic or sex magic, especially. But the top thing that everybody they go to the Botanica, or you go in the Botanica where you get all your voodoo and hoodoo supplies and all, oils and all kind of stuff. And there's everything from a penis candle to two lovers holding hands to the male and the female. You see red and pink and the kind of love, like pink is supposed to be just crush, like just a little sweetheart love, but the red is for passion. And then they got the black. They have the black ones too. They have black penis candles, y'all. They do. They have them. And once that candle is fixed and somebody starts burning that on you guys, trouble does not arise. That's the problem. It won't arise. It's just going to wither away. And there are black candles, male and female, that you would take and, among other things, do to bind them back to back so that they separate. They burn, they burn up, and you could just separate husbands and wives and lovers. And the top thing, you would think money or health, like healing, would be like the top ones. Every practitioner says love is the number one. Love gree-grees, love oils, love this, love that. Love is the number one. And, you can't do that. Just like you just said, If you force something, it may not be what you want. You're not looking at that person through open eyes. You're idealizing that person, and you're saying, well, it could be so good if he was with me, and it could be so great, and so you go when you want to do love spells, you go when you want to do breakup spells, and then, have him love you and all. And people have ended up even dead under circumstances of them fooling around with stuff. Because it really works, like someone that I know, like I never, whenever anybody would ask me, can we do this? Can it be done? Or can you do this? I'll say, well, you can do this. And what is it? Well, I'd say, here's what it is. That's do this, do that. You can do it. But remember, you're doing it, if you're doing it. And somebody did that. Somebody did a breakup, a whole series of working with Mars energy, burning the candles to break up people while, a couple, while also doing the draw him to me part of the spell. There was like, two things going on at the same time. Break them up, draw him to me. Well, she got proof that they were breaking up because he would send her pictures of destroyed rooms in the house. I mean, what happened was it became really violent, and he began to be violent toward his wife. And she was like, "That's not what I want. I didn't want them to, him to hurt her or anything like that." And I'm like, "You need to stop. You need to do." And I said, "This is what you wanted. Everything's working just the way you want it. They're breaking up. This is their breakup." And I said, she's like, "I got to stop it." I said, "You can't just stop it. You can't just, because it'll all come back and it'll hit you, and all that'll come back." Well, he was beating up the wife and tearing up the house, and he left her, and then he went back and he left her. And all this was going on at a distance, like of the other side of the country. And I was like, this is what you wanted. This is what you wanted. This is what you asked for. So I was like, you need to, if you don't want it, you need to do it the right way. You need to, discharge these things that you're doing, these spells that you're doing, so that it doesn't come back and hurt you. Didn't listen. I don't know what happened because I don't speak to the person anymore. But I was like, people, when they see something like that, well, I didn't want that. Well, that's what you wanted. That's exactly what you asked for. You wanted them to break up. You wanted to separate them and for him to come to you. And I told her, I said, "Do you want him coming to you now?" Now you see that he's violent toward his wife, to his own wife, and he'll come here and do that to you. So that was an object lesson. That's a perfect object lesson for a spell. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. If it's meant to be, it will happen, if it's meant to be. But if you want to do something, I have these February spells for lovers. I have some little spells. Now, don't take me at my word, and I'm not trying to give love advice, and I'm certainly not trying to counsel. So I'm just going to go over a little bit, gloss over these here February spells for lovers from the 2012 Hoodoo Almanac, available on Amazon. The hyacinth spell. Plant a hyacinth bulb, tulip, daffodil, or other showy, sweet-smelling flowers bulb will also do, in a new pot, naming the bulb with the name of your loved one as you do. These are pretty tame. Water it a little bit every morning and evening, saying the following chant over it as you do. As this root grows and this blossom blows, may his or her heart be turned to me, as my will, so mote it be. There's an easy one. I don't know what happens if the plant dies, but well, to find the lover for you. Hollow out a small pumpkin and place inside it a fat orange candle and some yellow marigolds, upon which you have poured some new honey. Go to the edge of a sheltered pond or stream, take a taste of the honey, light the candle, and gently set the pumpkin afloat in the water. Call out to your soulmate or perfect partner to come to you, having no one specific in mind. There you go. I think this spell has some roots in working with like Erzuli Frida in voodoo. It sounds like it does, from what I remember, or the spirit of the water spirit from Santeria. But it crosses, it crosses into witchcraft, and you don't necessarily have to be thinking that you're practicing voodoo. To bring back an unfaithful lover, and why would you want him? But anyway, kindle a small fire of new wood, throw into the fire dragon's blood incense, secreted inside a piece of common paper, meaning brown paper bags, parchment, that'll do, on which the name of the loved one has been written, and say, may he no pleasure or profit see until he returns to me. Or she, if you're a guy. Or he, if you're a guy. If that's your deal, whatever. Revenge against a faithless lover. During the dark of the moon, light a candle each midnight and prick it 3 times with a sharp knife, saying for each, thrice the candles broke by me, thrice thy heart shall broken be. On the night before the new moon, break the candle into pieces and throw it at a crossroads without looking back. That's magic. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And finally, to break up lovers, don't come back and tell us you did this and you and me, Alyne and Bernadine, y'all did this. No, I'm just reading from a book. What you decide to do is up to you. To break up lovers, to cause dissension between 2 lovers, take a photo of the couple, write their names on the back of it 9 times each, all the while reciting your desire that they should break up. Tear the photo in half, symbolically separating them. Keep the half of your desired lover and take the other half to a crossroads, calling out for the devil to take it. Dissension will soon separate them. How about that? And these work. So they say. Now, let's see. There's one more. Let's see. For the love of money, of love and money. One more thing from the 2014-15 Almanac. For the love of love and money. In the realm of relationships, Valentine's Day is an auspicious day for love work, no matter your magical persuasion, as people all over the world are focusing their energies on romance. Below is a formula for a powerful and seductive conjure oil and a money-drawing oil that can be used to anoint candles, added to bath water or body lotion, or worn as a perfume to draw your lover and money close. What do you think, Dean? Should I read it? Should I give out the recipe or make them go buy the book? All right, here we go. Conjure oil. Yeah, it's a happy Valentine's Day, y'all. And again, our disclaimer, you didn't hear it from us. We didn't do it. You did it. I mean, and don't try and sue us because we ain't got nothing. No, I'm just kidding around. But conjure oil formulas. Spicy floral love oil. And the recipe doesn't say the amount of drops. And I guess it goes by, okay, the first note or the first oil would be the one that you use the most of. So if you're trying to fill up a little container, a little one, not a container, listen to me, a little bottle, one of those little bottles with like drip, 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 kind of like a perfume bottle you can put on your wrist, or the tip that you typically see with essential oils. So I guess that would be the most. Actually, the most would be the base oil. So in a base of almond oil, gardenia essential oil, rose oil, oil of cloves, oil of cinnamon. And the least that you should put in there is cinnamon because it will burn your skin. So I would say 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. 4 drops of the gardenia, 3 of the rose, 2 of the cloves, and 1 of the cinnamon. So that's the spice in the almond oil base to fill up a little bottle. And then there's a money drawing oil because you're going to need that money, I guess. Azalea money drawing oil in a base of golden jojoba oil, azalea blossoms, a lodestone, and camellia oil. So this is like an anointing. You can anoint yourself. You can actually put it in your purse or on your person and draw money to you. So in the jojoba oil, a lodestone is you can get at any store. Basically, it's just another. It's one of the many stones used in voodoo and hoodoo. It's available anywhere they sell crystals and stones, and it's a spring, obviously, azalea blossoms, which first come out in February. So you get some of them, a lodestone in the bottom of the bottle, and camellia oil. I guess probably I would say three-fourths a jojoba oil, or actually maybe 50-50 jojoba and camellia. So that's those. There's two. There's more I could go reading. But there are two, and y'all can try them out. And I don't know. You can come in the comments and let us know what happened. If anything happens at all, or you can go buy those great books and you can read it yourself. But you and I, Dean, we deal in darkness. I've always wanted to say that, darkness. Yeah, but we deal with some of the darker sides of spirit interaction, spells, the results of spells, the results of people ignorant experimentation with magic, Ouija boards, all of that, divination in general. And divination is under the province or the purview of a particular spirit. So you're working with spirits. And when you start getting into objectively real entity spirits or spirits and entities, then you cross over into supernatural danger. And one of the dangers that has been throughout history in magical workings or witchcraft or ritual magic is, and practicing witchcraft according to the old church, or not only the old church, because in many folkloric traditions, these things exist, the incubus and the succubus. And they're all to do with love. They're all to do with making love. And the belief, at least in the Middle Ages, was that if you're a witch, then you have familiars, and that you are having relations with either the devil himself or definitely demons. And those were called the incubus. And so I went to this book that I have called the Chambers Dictionary of the Unexplained. And it's the definition of an incubus. So, incubus, a demon said to assume a male body and have sexual intercourse with women as they sleep. In demonology, an incubus, from the Latin word, from Latin incubus, from in meaning on, and cubare meaning to lie, is a demon that takes on male form and visits women as they sleep to have intercourse with them and incite them to lust and perversion. The female equivalent of the incubus is the succubus, which we'll talk about in a minute. The depravity of witches who have had sex with incubi is discussed in the Malleus Maleficarum, which is the Hammer of Witches, by Kramer and Spranger. Everybody knows it. It's translated by Montague Summers. So it's among one of the greatest books, or the most well-known of occult books. And basically it advocates for just killing all these people that we think are witches in the most gruesome and terrible ways after we torture them. That's pretty much what it is. But actually in it, it's people just discount it for that. I'm going to take a little side note on the Malleus Maleficarum. People discount it because it seems so, like lunatic, like they're just completely obsessed with every woman is a witch, and and men, and there are some men, but in it is a lot of occult tradition that has later been proven, or at least to the satisfaction of people who study the paranormal, true. For instance, they talk about condensation in the air. Like the question is, and this would apply to an incubus as well, how would it manifest in the room or with you where it is? It uses the density of the air. So a humid environment or a smoky environment. In the Middle Ages or in times before now, everybody was jammed into rooms all day. There, so there's condensate in the room. There's breath, and all it needs is to attach to that to have itself a form. When you get all, we get all these accounts of, this wispy looking spirit form, and you get pictures and evidence of it. These things are wispy. They're, it says, it's like an apparition or a white shadow or something. Well, it's using the etheric energy and the condensate or the etheric nature of the air to manifest itself in a form that is recognizable as a being or an entity. When it begins to get familiar with the woman that it's coming to, to have intercourse with, it's able to manipulate her mind or her will, but also affect her senses so that she begins to see them as maybe somebody recognizable, maybe her husband, even her husband. They have even been cases where women have been attacked by incubus while their real husband, is sleeping next to them, but the incubus looks just like it. And that accounted for a lot of why women apparently confess to why they would allow an incubus to have access to them or to do things to them, was because they thought it was their husband, because it looked like their husband. But they burned them anyway. It's like, okay, but we're going to burn you anyway. But seriously, though, condensing in the air, condensate the atmosphere, helps them to form. Now, it is an atmosphere that helps you.
Even ectoplasm is a substance.
Yeah, exactly. It's coming out of the body, but as it's forming in the air, it's foaming in the air, and it's using the atmosphere, the etheric atmosphere present in the room or the space around it, in the environment, to come out and become as a form. And from ectoplasm, obviously, you can have entities form at these seances and table tippings and all this other stuff. And so a lot of the pictures of mediums from the turn of the century or in the early 20th century, spewing out this foam like substance, or even string, like strings of, like crepe paper. That's, some of that is real. So a lot of it is fake. Some of it, though, is real. And the entity, in order to manifest, has to have some way to do it. In ritual magic, the way is provided with the incense and the candles, and particularly the incense, to for the entity, to the demon or whatever it is, to manifest to you. But in cases like incubi, it's going to use the atmosphere until it gets that sympathetic connection to its victim, and then all it has to do is basically appear, and she's already convinced that it's whoever she's seeing, like somebody she secretly admires or whatever. But according to the Malleus Maleficarum, the depravity of witches who have had sex with incubi is discussed, where it is, and it is noted that in times long past, this is from the book, in times long past, the incubus devils used to infest women against their wills. But the theory that modern witches are tainted with this sort of diabolic filthiness is not substantiated only in our opinion, since the expert testimony of the witches themselves has made all these things credible, and that they do not now, as in times past, subject themselves unwillingly, but willingly embrace the most foul and miserable servitude. So it goes on to say, incubi were said to be able to take on the form of a woman's husband or lover, but the act was said to be unpleasant, with the incubus having a huge or ice cold phallus. Okay, size does matter. I don't know. During the witch trials, witches were of the Middle Ages. Witches were regularly accused of having had sex with incubi, and many alleged confessions admitted this. It was also commonly believed that an incubus could act as a witch's familiar. So in this case, it would be a very powerful one, not like an animal. Well, and they can be. I mean, pets. Black cats, dogs, whatever, can be powerful because of what's in them, but this was particularly powerful because it was a demonic entity. They were said to be particularly attracted to virgins, and many nuns claimed that demons tormented them as they slept. Incubi were also said to be able to impregnate women using semen that they collected from men, as they had none of their own. And we're going to go into how they collect it in a minute. And one famous incubus, this one you need to learn. One famous incubus case noted in the Malleus Maleficarum in Reginald Scott's Discovery of Witchcraft involved the Bishop of Nazareth, Sylvanus. This notable man was accused of appearing in a lady's bedchamber and making love to her. The bishop was cleared when he explained that it had not been him, but an incubus that had taken his form. Uh-huh. Right. It was an incubus. That wasn't me.
Can we
I
use
don't do that. I'm a bishop. Huh?
Can we use that in court?
They did. Apparently, he went into court and he said, "Oh, well, it wasn't me. It was an incubus. She's nuts." And then she probably got in trouble. That's what they did. He was accused of, and of course he went into the ladies' chamber. I mean, it's not always supernatural. He's just using the people's belief in it to, which, he's a bishop, obviously. He's going to use it. So it talks about them performing the act and the physical residue, which is obviously semen. So they don't produce any themselves, the incubi who appear as male entities. But there is a tradition, or in the tradition, that these demons that are particularly this type of demon can appear as a female to a man and a male to a woman. And so that is how it is able to obtain semen or seed and then go from one to the other. So the succubus is the female, and I'm going to look that up. I should have marked it, but it's okay. Hang on, I almost opened right to it. Hey, it even defines the soul. Let's see. Here, A, B, C, D, C, U, B, P, Q. Where is this? Hang on. So rather than just have here, I'm coming to it. Oh, here it is. Okay. Rather than just have dead air is what I was going to say. And then I looked at it. So a succubus is a female night demon. It says here medieval Christian legend, but that's not just legendary, because it goes back to Lilith and the lily or the Lilith that she spawns. It goes back to the Mara, which was the basis for the nightmare, the Mara that used to come and plague men. So it's not just a legend, and it's believed to seduce men in their sleep. It is the female counterpart of the incubus, a night demon who is said to seduce men while they sleep. The succubus, whose name comes from a Latin word meaning to lie beneath, appears prominently in medieval Christian lore, her favorite prey being monks. She is usually described as taking on the appearance of an alluring woman of unearthly beauty, often with demonic bat-like wings, and is believed to drain her victims of their energy to the point of exhaustion or death, or to steal their semen in order to produce demonic offspring. According to legend, incubi are 9 times more numerous than succubi, and the 15th century Malleus Maleficarum relates that succubi collect the semen and pass it on, just as I said, to the incubi. The semi-human children begotten in this way, so the succubus could become pregnant, or it could transmute itself into the male form, incubi, and impregnate a human woman. The semi-human children begotten in this way, known as cambions, C-A-M-B-I-O-Ns, B-I-O-Ns, wait, C-A-M-B-I-O-N-S, are thought to be particularly susceptible to the influence of demons. In later times, the succubus and incubus were seen as the same being in different forms. Lilith, identified in rabbinic lore as the first wife of Adam, was said to have been ejected from Eden for refusing to acknowledge her husband's sexual dominance and to have become a succubus in order to avenge herself on Adam's descendant. Succubi are therefore often referred to as daughters of Lilith. Nahema, Nahema, is said to be the queen of all succubi. From the 16th century onwards, the carving of a succubus on the outside of an inn indicated that it also functioned as a brothel. Multi-purpose. In the Middle Ages, nocturnal emissions were always attributed to the attentions of a succubus, and the prevalence of such claims, especially among monks, have led some to suggest that the origins of the medieval succubus lie in the extreme repression of sexual urges dictated by the church at that time. Yeah, I mean, cooped up in a monastery, it's a bunch of men. I can see where they would think that, but I can also see that, there's a saying, if you come into town and you're looking for a necromancer, you go over to the monastery. You're looking for a sorcerer, they point you over to the monastery, because those were the guys, the lay clerics, which were the ones that were low and could have a wife and everything, the clerics who were preparing for priesthood, etc., and the priests and the bishops were the ones who were doing ritual magic, because they believed they could do it because they had the authority of Christ to command these things. And so if you went into a medieval town and you're like, I need a necromancer, I don't know why you would. I don't know why you tell anybody either. You probably would already know. But you go over there to the monastery and say, okay, let's go get a body and we'll do whatever, So those are defined incubus and succubus. And people can get, there's sleep paralysis is one phenomena. And I know you've heard of it, and you've had cases of people who are completely awake, but completely paralyzed and can't move, who have been attacked by entities that are it's nothing new. It's the same old thing. It's entities. Now, why and what the situation is in the house, or what the situation is, going on around the people that's causing this haunting, because that's a haunting. And in many cases, it's a possession. We often talk about the demonic case that you had, the one that rattled you, with the guy that you couldn't help. And he was being attacked by both from, right? I mean, he had not only succubi preying on him, but he had incubus too that would come to him. So he was really, really being attacked and demoralized by these things. Right?
Yeah. He was being raped, and he lived alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he went to the emergency room with all these issues and problems with no one in his home but him.
Right. And I'm sure they thought he was crazy or he was injuring himself.
Well, that's why they wanted to put him on so many medications.
Mm-hmm. Well, and medications. Medications can make it worse because they can numb them to it. They can open their minds to, more attacks, or a deeper attack on a subconscious or a sub-deep conscious, deep lower conscious level. Through those medications, they get access to a lot. These intruding spirits, they get access to a lot of the person, a lot more than a person who's revved up and the adrenaline is, even if they are kind of crazy, but that it's experiencing this and is clear-minded and can the fight or flight kicks in. But a medicine, especially the medications that they have now, all the psychotropes and all these,
It makes them a
whatever.
weak.
Yeah, it makes them weak, and it opens them up. It makes them, and it makes them doubt their own sanity, and it puts them in danger in situations. This case that we talk about frequently, he was beaten up too, and I think he knew if he got on medicine and all, there was no way to defend himself, because he basically your mind kind of vacates a little bit, and you're under this effect of something that makes you weaker. Like you're trying to run away from something, you don't want to be drunk. Like you're running away from a wolf in the woods or something. You certainly don't want to do it drunk. So this is basically like that. You're not going to confront something inebriated. Unless you absolutely have to. So unfortunately, like, we don't know what happened to that guy. We can surmise, but we don't really know, because he didn't want any
And
part.
a lot of problems that guys have with these things, they're the ones that are less likely to come forward with the story,
Mm-hmm.
or to try to get help because they're embarrassed of having it happen to them to begin with.
Right.
So
There,
it's
in
not
fact, you
like
reminded
they come
me.
out
We
and
had,
talk about it.
yeah, we talked to a guy, when we were on UPRN in the past. We had a show, and we talked to somebody. He came on the show, right? That was experiencing this. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't think I think he was anonymous. We didn't reveal his name, but talk a little about that.
Yeah, he was working on a boat, and I think it was a crew boat out in the Gulf, the Gulf of Mexico, and being on the water.
Hmm.
Water is energy, so
Yeah.
he would it would happen to him more on the water
Hmm.
that it would come, and he was afraid. It would happen to him at home too, but it was more when he was on the water. So I explained to him about the energy, and water gives spirits the energy to manifest, and he would say, that it would attack him at night. He was paralyzed. He couldn't move, but he could see the thing,
Hmm.
and she was beautiful. Uh, and he went into detail about the sexual act and all, but
Hmm.
he was embarrassed about it too and didn't know who to turn to. So he had called me, and yeah, he came on the show.
Yeah, and that's where
So
it's good to have someone like you, and I guess me too, to turn to, because first of all, you're not going to think you're crazy. You're not going to make fun of them. You're also not going to confirm stuff they believe that might not be happening or isn't true. But I think, if I recall, we even talked about the possibility of mermaids in that instance. That and water is feminine. The qualities of it, the energy is considered feminine, and it's associated with the moon too, and the ability of the moon to rule the tides and everything. So we even talked about the possibility of him going in those kind of, like, when you work in the oil field and you're on a vessel, or you're brought out to a rig. It's pretty much a routine. It's a routine place, and if you're on the rig, it's there, even if it's like a jack-up rig or a floating rig, like the Deepwater Horizon was. It's still in one spot. And it could have been, we knocked this one, or we kicked this around as an explanation. It could have been mermaids are also real, folks. People, I don't want to see them. There are too many reports of mermaids, and mermen as well, and things under. Me, Dean, and I've said it a lot. The sea bothers me. It's like I say, go to the beach, and I mean the beach. I don't mean get in the water and swim or anything. Look at the water, that's fine. But it's true, and there are thousands of accounts going back to antiquity of mermaids, and people, sailors, and seamen interacting with these entities on the sea. And it's not impossible that, something like that could have, fixed on him. But it sounds like a classic succubus because it was also able to find him on shore and do that. And yeah, men are, particularly when it starts happening to them, there's a lot of shame there because the first thing they think is, this can't be real. I must be imagining this and all the, embarrassment and stuff that goes on. And then people, well-meaning psychologists and people try to explain, well, you're missing your woman, you're missing your wife, you're missing your girlfriend. You don't have a wife, you don't have a girlfriend, and you want one, and they try and just say that's all it is. And it's basically all in your mind and take, huh?
It's a dream. They say it's a dream.
Yeah. And it's all in your head, and here, take these pills, and we just went over that. So the succubus keeps coming. It keeps coming, and now it's got a more pliable, malleable target to work on. So, and, there are incubus attacks too, that women are ashamed of that too, that they may be having a dream, they may be like, it's especially hard on people who experience these things when they're happily married, and they really have no reason to be dreaming about anything else, unless it's like some celebrity, like, you just happen to watch a movie that you really like that celebrity, who I am, who I, I just watched Benicio del Toro last night, again, 2 of his movies. And I'm like, well, he didn't come, I'm not having dreams, but you have these connections with celebrities that you like and stuff like that. And so sometimes it's not unknown. We're going to segue into the celebrity one, because there's an interesting one with a celebrity, but it's not unknown for them to appear in that form because it's a familiar form. It's something that you're attracted to. Either, you're just attracted to it. You find it attractive, you find it handsome or beautiful, you find them, and there's something there. And we knew someone who was very, very attached to Nicolas Cage. And would not be dissuaded that this was not Nicolas Cage. And this went on for years. And she related to us and to anyone who would listen. So this is not violating any kind of confidence or anything, but that she would experience him coming to her in the night, sometimes in characters that he was in different movies, and taking her, astral projecting, or taking her, she said physically, taking her around, like out of her house. And one time they went to Santa Monica and he showed her his classic car collection, all things she knew about. Basically, like she knew Nicolas Cage. She lived and breathed Nicolas Cage, so she knew he had a car collection. She knew what his house looked like over here. She knew what his house looked like over there. And then he bought a house in an area that was kind of close, relatively speaking, to her, which was New Orleans. He bought the infamous La Laurie Mansion and lived there for several years. And I spotted him on the balcony on a tour when I was following behind a tour, when I knew the tour guide. And I was like, they're like, this is where Nick Cage lives. And he owns it. And he was sitting on the balcony in shorts and a t-shirt reading the Times-Picayune. And I'm like, well, he's right there. That's him. And he was smiling and he wouldn't look, like he wouldn't give him the satisfaction looking, but he was on his balcony, sitting right there. Well, during his time when he was resident there, by this time, this obsession had become dangerous for her. He was still coming and visiting her, but now she was closer to him. And a couple of times she went to visit the house while he owned it. And she even went to St. Louis #1, because anybody who knows the story of Nick Cage in New Orleans knows he has a tomb in St. Louis #1 that he built they had torn a tomb down. He didn't take over anything, but something was torn down that was dilapidated, and they cleared the spot, and he bought it and he built his tomb. And you can look it up on the internet, and it's a white pyramid. And she would go there, and then she related to us that she had gone to the Lalaurie house and put her hand on the stone and felt his energy and all. But I got a call from a friend of hers who was concerned because she was beginning to his visits to her were beginning to get unpleasant, let's just say, for the Nick Cage fan, for the woman that was experiencing it. And it was progressing as we expected it to, because it's not Nick Cage. It was becoming a problem, physically as well as mentally and all. And she began to express the desire to, he's got to stop this, so I'm going to have to make him stop. And this other woman, and this is one of the weirdest things that I've ever been, like stories I've ever been adjacent to. The other woman called me and said, I just called the FBI in New Orleans. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, because the woman began to say that she had to be rid of him. It had to stop. And she was going to come over here and she was going to kill Nick Cage or hurt him in some kind of a way. So the woman took her seriously enough to call up the FBI. And Nick Cage is still alive, so we know it wasn't a success. And I don't know what's going on with the woman now. I fell out of touch. And I don't know that I really want to reach in there and find out. But, that obviously that is a classic entity and then incubus situation. Because the woman said, the other woman, the friend said, I have seen this thing. She said, I look out of my window and I can see it standing on the lawn looking back at me. And it's a total shadow. She said, it's a complete black, opaque shadow. And it stares at her because it knows that she's trying to interfere with what's going on. And then she said, it will just basically drift up, like float up off the ground and become this blob, this sort of black mass, and then go over the roof of the house, like disappear behind the house. And she saw it in the house and she was seeing it as it was. Now, I think she was sensitive to these things. So I think that she actually saw what it was. And it was a shadow entity in her, she saw its form as a shadow entity. So she was really worried. She was worried about the woman, but she was worried about Nicolas Cage. And I don't know what happened to to them or to her. I don't know the end of the story, but Nick is still alive and he still comes here. I mean, to New Orleans. He's got a tomb here. He wants to be buried when he died. But that's one instance of this went on for a long time where this thing came to visit, and it's a classic incubus situation. And I believe that she was too old to become pregnant by any means or whatever. So I think that was not even in the pictures, but she got progressively more afraid of him. She wouldn't admit she was afraid of it, but she was tired of it. And that's the classic progression of an incubus preying on a woman, Now I saw also, you remember My Ghost Story? You remember that show?
Yes.
That was a good show. Yeah, it was a good show. It was a good show because they fit in about 4 different stories. It was good. Some of them were, some of them you could say, well, it's really, but they were honest, people's honest opinions and people's honest experiences. And most of the cases were pretty interesting. And yeah, I think it's on Hulu. I think you can watch it. But they had, I don't know if you remember this, Dean, but there was a man, and we're talking about succubi, who went on an investigation, just a basic investigation of a grocery store. I think he lived in New Jersey. No, it was like a Florida or something like that. It was in the South. And he just went because with a mutual friend, because the other friend couldn't make it. So he said, well, I'll go with, Joe Blow, whoever it was. And it was a grocery store, something totally, like it was a small corner grocery store, convenience store type thing. And they were in there to investigate supernatural activity, and according to the story, at some point he kind of he blanked out and became faint during the investigation, and he had to go outside. Well, there were other people too that came along. And so they took him outside and he felt better. And he just thought, well, I'm lightheaded. I'm in this, small place with a bunch of people. But he went home, and the first thing that began to happen to him, according to the story, is he was hearing, screaming in the woods. Now, people will say when they hear it that it's a fox or it's somebody messing around, and that's well and good, okay. But he would go outside, and his wife filmed him going outside with the digital recorder and standing at the fence, and it would be what, and it would come right up to him and then stop. So if it's a fox, then the fox should be somewhere within view. If it's a coyote, they should see him or hear him wandering around. This thing came close right up to them, but wouldn't for some reason go over the fence. And it was a metal fence. So wouldn't go over that, or at least didn't go then, because they were both standing there. And you could hear it. And this was pretty, pretty engaging. I was like, this is interesting, because it would be hard to fake that. You'd have to go like into post editing to fake a sound effect. And this was while they were filming, and they were not like, they just had a regular, like a phone or a digital camera that they were filming on, and a recorder. And sure enough, things began to happen in the house, and the dog was scared to death, and all sorts of things. And he began to have these dreams that he was being attacked by this gorgeous woman. She was red-haired, beautiful skin, beautiful eyes, and every time that it would happen, there was something a little bit off about her, a little more off and a little more off. And then eventually, it's like the mask slipped off, and he saw the thing, the demon that it was. And so he was freaked out, and he got sick, and he was being attacked. And eventually, a team that frequently was used on My Ghost Story, a bald-headed guy named Mark, I can't remember what the team is. He got him help, got a medium in there, and the medium communicated with the thing and basically drove it out. And they cleansed the house and all. But it was a really interesting story, and it's there are so many stories that are exactly like that, all the way back into antiquity, of your space being invaded, this female thing attacking you, and they were taken seriously enough for people to put up, amulets, charms, lay traps, or try to, and all the other things. And so all this is to say, I don't know if you're going to get a visit on Valentine's Day from.
Well, Alyne, I don't know if you remember the story, the show, The Entity with Barry Taff. Yeah,
Oh
classic
yeah,
case.
that's one of the famous ones. And I think it's probably one of the most well documented one. And Barry Taff, and we had him on the show a long while ago, but we talked about that. He is not. He's like a nuts and bolts total. He was a skeptic, but he had an open mind to scientifically proving stuff. If he could apply science to it, and he got a result, then he was intrigued by that. And he didn't discount the supernatural. And that story, that movie, I remember it came out like in the 70s or something, like, and Barbara Hershey was in it. That upset me. That upset me so bad. And I don't, I've looked at it since then, but I don't like to, because it makes you, I don't know, it just makes you nervous. It's like anything could invade your space. And I lived in a house when I was little, young, that was already invaded. And I'm like, I don't want that to start happening. Oh my God. But yeah, that came out of nowhere. There was no,
No, I feel
right,
bad for
no
her son.
rituals.
And
Yeah. Didn't the son die or something? I don't know if he killed him. She died, and she even
but
moved.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
She,
he tried to
yeah.
save her so many times when all that was happening. He had to see his
Hmm.
mom
Hmm.
getting
Yeah.
pounded
That was
on like that.
terrible. Yeah. And it was terrible. And it was, and they verified it, and they took pictures. It was one of the rare moments. They actually set up cameras, motion detector cameras, and this took place in the 70s. So we're not talking about equipment on the level that we have it now. Like, they couldn't get a thermal camera into a situation like that, because it was a big, it was like NASA had thermal cameras. They were huge, and they were using 35 millimeter film, and they were using cassette tapes, and they were using film cameras, not like digital, and not like digital tape, but film cameras, like you make movies with in Hollywood, actual film. And they documented this, and this would he said, he felt so puzzled by, because her description, it was a huge thing. It was accompanied by apparently some smaller entities that would hold her hands or her legs or both, at the same time, while this assault was going on. Whenever these assaults came on, and it sounds obviously demonic. It's there. I don't know why anybody would say, "Well, it's something. It's an intelligent." No, that's a demon. That is a demon. Why it began attacking her, nobody could ever find out. Nobody could. But it meets all the parameters of the incubus, because even the act itself, she would describe as outrageously painful. I mean, there was no kind of like she could be making this up and enjoying something. No, this was horrible. And it followed her when she moved out of California. She moved to Texas, and it followed her there, and until she died. And then it all stopped. So I don't know, where is where is where is she at? I just wonder that sometimes when I watch the movie. I'm like, well, what happened to her spirit? Because this thing would not leave her alone. So I'm hoping that, I would hope that when she died, Christ freed her of it, and she wasn't just like grabbed and is in perpetual, damnation or with this thing. But it was creepy. And the idea, and then, when you growing up and you read stories about, you see that, and then you find out about incubi and succubi, and, you know, uh, it's like, no, I don't want that to happen. Now, some people uh, ritually do these things. They ritually summon entities, obviously ritual magic, but they do rituals in which they want to have intercourse. They want to have activity with male or female demons. So they summon them using all kinds of rituals, all kinds of stuff, from just calling them to elaborate, drawing the circle and all this other stuff. But, a lot of times it's just brooding on stuff like that, thinking about stuff like that, that draws them to you. And Valentine's Day, well, Valentine's Day, everybody's thinking about love. I wish I had a lover. I wish I had this. I don't, or you either got one and you wish you whatever, or you're thinking about somebody else's, like the guy with the roses or whatever. But all that energy goes out there. Like we said at the beginning, I don't, it's just a day. It's not like a whole season like Christmas or whatever. And, I see people that will decorate their houses with, with hearts and all that. I mean, a little bit is okay, but that's, but all this energy is going out there. It's, the whole ball of wax is the people that have and the people that don't have. So the Galentine's thing comes up, right? So I don't know what the guy, it must be guy in time. I don't even know if is there a male equivalent to the Galentine phenomena that is happening? I don't even know. Boy in time, no, that sounds kind of racy. I don't know, but there's so much energy attached to this one deck. I got to get the gifts, or am I going to get a gift? Or like I got you something, so you should give me roses or whatever back. And everybody's like thinking, Valentine's Day, oh my God, I got to get my wife something. Oh, I got to get him something. Oh, Valentine, is he going to take me out? Is he going to? And they love nothing more than feeding on all that energy that we put out there, all kind of energy. Right. And they're in the chaos all around us anyway, and then also, I guess we should touch on people that engage in weird ass stuff, just weird stuff, like, I don't know, bondage, sadism, tie me up crap, chain me up, whatever, that has a moral issue. I mean, everybody says to each his own. I'm not trying to judge, but there's an absence of a moral compass in a lot of that. Because some people actually are obsessed with, strictly obsessed with just the straight having sex with anybody. There's nymphomaniacs, there's male whores running around that just do it all the time because, a few decades ago, somebody told them, hey, you can, burn your bra, women, and go out there and be like the men, and sleep with whoever you want. Rabbit holes galore on that one. But this constant, the revolving doors of a partner here, a partner there, a partner there, and these kind of illicit arrangements are just perfectly. There's so much energy being sparked off that there's got to be entities feeding on it, and it's the perfect ground for something like this to happen, for a spirit to be attracted to. I was just thinking of solitary activities too. I was going to add as a footnote, solitary activities that people do, whatever, and that's not so solitary, huh?
Especially drugs and alcohol are involved in it.
Yeah, because they're wide open, man. They're wide open, and they're already 3 sheets to the window, let's say, wide open, and something's. The thing is, folks, the supernatural it's right there. It's always right there. It's lurking just outside on the periphery of all that you do. They're there. There are things happening. There are spirits attracted to you. Like, one person got creeped out when I held my hand like an inch from my face, and I said, they're right here. When you think about it, they're right here. When you're in a really haunted situation, they're in your face, right, Dean? They're like in your face. Right. Not all the time. It's not always, but there are many, many times where these spirits are like, oh yeah, and they're right in your face. Or I'm looking at you. That feeling you get when you're watching, you feel like you're being watched, but you got to get away. It's because they're on you. They're feeding off the energy, or they're trying to attach to you. And all these places where you morally slip and you do something even uncharacteristic of you, or you're drunk, or you're an addict, and they can get in. These are places for them to get in. And I guess I never really thought about the amount of energy until just now that is generated by Valentine's Day. And so it's like you become spiritual prey to these supernatural entities. So it's a dangerous game. Love. Love is a dangerous game on Valentine's Day, I guess. Demons want to be loved too, Dean. They want love. Come on now.
No.
Come on now.
They want it. We cannot give it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Even if he shows up looking like Nicolas Cage, or she
That's
shows up
right.
looking like Monica
Mhm.
Bellucci, you know? So, and then, you've got, we haven't even touched on the whole vampire thing. Let's not even talk about that. The whole thing with that. Love never
Yeah.
dies. There it is. I mean, that's Gary Oldman. Love never dies was the whole tagline for that movie. I'm talking about Bram Stoker's Dracula back in the 90s or 80s. I think it was 90s. Yeah, and Keanu Reeves was in it. But love never dies. I mean, it's obsession and it's whatever. But I mean, if you're in a good place spiritually, mentally healthy, you're not like into these obsessive behaviors or these activities, that sketchy activities and all. You should be fine. I mean, ghosts, entities, demons are not like that. They're not like, oh, there they are, I'm going to jump on you as soon as it's not like that. It has to be built up. Or there's something in the environment, or there's you begin to make that connection. And if that's, I guess maybe, Dean, like we've talked about people who we know or we know of that have had this happen. So if you're having that happen to you, anybody listening now or in the future, you need to take it seriously. You need to begin to keep track of these things and then look at your behavior. Look at the things that, you've spent time ruminating about, journaling about, writing. Just look back and take a step back and realize this could be an etheric connection, a deep lower conscious connection with possibly an entity in your environment. So you could be haunted. You could be a target for an entity like this. You don't want these two. You don't want incubus and succubus, because succubi will kill you if you're a man. They tap into the vital essence, quote unquote, the old vital essence, but they will kill you. They will continue to attack you until you're so debilitated there's nothing left, or you're dead. Incubi, it's a little different, but the sapping of the energy off of the victim is pretty much the same. With women, it's not just energy; it's a physical thing, and women have physical, residue and bruises and stuff. So there's that. So
They're
if
both
you're
pretty
afraid,
scary.
that's right. So this Valentine's Day, guys and girls especially, don't sit there and cry because you don't have somebody. Don't worry about it. Just go right through it. It's only a 24-hour period. It's just a day. Okay. It's just a day.
Yeah.
Don't throw a bunch of energy. I wish I had this and I wish I had that and I wish this. I mean, I wish I would have woken up today at 34 years old on a Caribbean island with Benicio del Toro, but that was today. Okay.
Yeah, don't let
It's
that
like,
genie out of the bottle. You
right.
might
Why,
regret it.
like, why didn't I
Watch
wake
what
up?
you
Why
got.
didn't, yeah, watch what you wish for. And for God's
Mhm.
sake, and really, really, this is serious, stay away from love magic. Stay away. When somebody says you can do this and you can get this, there is always something attached with magic. Always. Some of it lasts for years and years. Some people have died from doing love spells or making waves and sending chaos into the lives of other people, to try and get what you want. You can't manipulate stuff like that. You can, but you shouldn't. And you shouldn't go to anybody else to help you do it. you know it can turn out really bad, where even death has sometimes happened. But you could attract the lover that you think is ideal, and he beats you and you know abuses you. You don't want to do that. Just you need to have a little faith that something's out there for you. And if somebody's going to break up, they're going to break up. And if you're going to be around for that, but you can't obsess about it. You can't go doing magic and throwing it at people, because let me tell you too, the home of all lost curses, or the home of all lost magic, is with the sender. and it comes back to you. So, and it may come back as an incubus on Valentine's Day. And I kid you not, I am dead serious about that. It may come back as that. Then you got that in your life. So carry on and don't worry about it. Let it happen the way it's going to unfold. Right, Dean?
That's right.
All right. Well, I guess that wraps it up. I guess we've covered everything. We've gone from the Middle Ages to whatever antiquity and all that. I enjoy these. We should do more of these in the future on different topics and stuff. We've always enjoyed just talking about stuff. So, but that'll wrap it up for Valentine's Day. For all you guys and girls out there, hey, I hope you have a good Valentine's Day. I hope if you want roses, you get them. I hope if you want an engagement ring, you get them. I hope if you want your girlfriend to break up with you or leave or shut up, that happens for you. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to you, Dean. Do you have any particular plans? Is there any effigy you're going to burn or anything like that?
No.
No voodoo doll that you're gonna stick pins in on Valentine's Day. Huh?
No, I ran out of pins.
Oh, it's a good thing. I know Dean, y'all. It's a good thing. Now I'm ragging on you. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this little mosey through the ins and outs and the dangers of Valentine, the supernatural dangers of Valentine's Day. That's what we'll call this episode. So we hope you enjoyed it, and we will be back soon with another great guest, another great show, and we're going to do more of these topics and deep dives in the future. So we thank you for listening. And if you like it, if you enjoyed it and you've listened this far, give us a like, subscribe to our channel. We do need subscribers and it always helps, but we love doing it anyway. So give us a thumbs up and come along for the ride in the supernatural substation. So happy Valentine's Day to you, Dean. And I'll have a happy one. Yes, I'll have a happy one. Yeah. Everybody stay safe and we'll see you again soon or talk to you again soon.